Hello and welcome back to the Smile and Save podcast, brought to you by Serve and Protect Credit Union. Now, this is the final episode of 2024, and this episode is all about improving your credit score. We're going to give you 10 actionable and simple steps to take to boost your score and give yourself the best possible chance of being approved for credit in the future. Now, if you do decide to take any of these steps and actually improve your score, make sure to let us know how you get on by leaving a review or a comment where relevant, or even heading over to our social media channels at Serve and Protect CU and letting us know over there how you got on. Now, remember, this is just a guide. It's just some steps to consider taking, and this is not financial advice, so please do seek independent financial advice and always do your own research. Let's get into those tips and let's get started. So first of all, it's important for you guys to know exactly what your credit score actually is. Now, your credit score is the most important number that's related to your finances. And it's actually one of the most important aspects for lenders when deciding whether to accept your application for credit or not. Now, your credit score simply is a 3-digit number that rates your credit worthiness. Now, the higher your credit score, the better your chance of being accepted for credit, and the better rates that you're likely to be offered, and you've actually got a better chance of being accepted for larger amounts of money as well. Now, you can also flip this on its head. So the lower your credit score, the lower your chance of being accepted for credit. You may be offered slightly higher rates, and you may not be able to borrow as much than you would have liked. So your credit score is really important, and there's lots of things that you can do that can improve your score or decrease your score. Now, we'll get onto those things that can actually damage your score and what makes up your credit score in a bit more detail in a future episode. But for now, let's get straight into those 10 tips to help you improve your credit score as you move into 2025. Tip number 1, and it's a fairly straightforward one, but check your credit score. Now, it's really important to know exactly where you stand to begin with in terms of your credit score, because if you don't know what your score is to begin with, it's very difficult to know where you're at and what you can actually do to improve it. Now, you can check your credit score for free. There's lots of different ways to do so. 3 examples to start with are ClearScore, Credit Karma, and Experian. Now, these are all completely free tools, free websites to be able to check your credit score. Your score might be slightly different with each provider that you use, and that's because they use different metrics, different algorithms to be able to figure out your score. But the general information and tips will be similar across each of these platforms. We've actually got a handy guide on how to check your credit score for free, so we'll link that in the description to give you a hand if you've never checked it before. Number 2, check for errors on your credit report. So when you review your credit report, look for any information that you don't recognise, such as names, addresses, or different types of credit that you've not actually applied for. This could be a clear sign of fraud, or it could be an innocent mistake. And you can actually get any errors corrected by contacting the credit reference agency, and this can actually improve your score. Now, this is a really simple and easy thing to do every month. Once you've signed up to check your credit report with one of those free providers or another provider, they'll typically email you an update every month with fresh tips, your updated score, and it's really easy to then check that every month as you go for any updates. Number 3, prove where you live. Now, registering on the electoral roll at your current address can be a quick and easy way to improve your credit score. This is because lenders can verify your name and address and be confident that you are who you say you are. You can do this even if you're living in shared accommodation like barracks or living at home with your parents as well. Number 4, avoid moving home a lot if you can. Now, lenders like to see stability in your circumstances where possible, and if you're frequently moving home, they may think that you're having trouble paying your rent, for example. Now, this isn't always possible, we know, especially if you work in the armed forces, but if you are able to create some stability, it can help you to improve your score and give a bit more of a stable situation when lenders review you for credit. Number 5, build your credit history. Now, having little to no credit history can make it difficult to lenders to assess your creditworthiness, and this can mean that you'll have a lower credit score. This is a common problem for young people who haven't had time to build up credit, as well as anyone who's recently moved to the UK. Luckily, some of the remaining steps in this episode can actually help you to build your credit history as you go over time. Tip number 6, keep old credit accounts open. Now, keeping old credit accounts open can show lenders your ability to successfully manage multiple credit accounts, particularly if they're over a long period of time. So, most credit scoring models tend to reward you for long-standing, mature credit accounts. And it can also help if you only use a small portion of your credit limit, which brings us to step number 7, which is keep your credit utilization low. Your credit limit is the maximum amount which a lender will allow you to spend on a line of credit, for example, a credit card. Your credit utilization is the percentage of your credit limit that you actually use. So, as a guide, it's best to try and keep your credit utilization below 30% to keep your credit score nice and healthy. And this shows lenders that you're not reliant on credit and puts you in a good position if you then need to borrow again, or if your situation changes, you've got some more funds there to use. Number 8, avoid hard inquiries where possible. Now, there are 2 different types of credit checks. A soft inquiry does not impact your credit score. And for example, this is like when you review your own credit score just to see where you're at. It's a soft check, doesn't impact your score. It's actually a really useful thing to do. However, a hard inquiry can lower your credit score and will typically stay on your credit report for up to 2 years. So an example of a hard inquiry is where you apply for credit and the lender checks your credit report to decide whether to lend to you or not. If you can, try to keep your number of hard inquiries to a minimum to keep your credit score as healthy as possible. So it's a good idea to only try and apply for things that you're quite confident of being approved for. Tip number 9, pay on time. Now, keeping up to date with your credit repayments each month is a really good way to show lenders that you're reliable when borrowing money. It also shows that you're capable of handling credit responsibly. And a way to make this easier is actually automating your payments. For example, with Serve and Protect Credit Union, you can repay direct from your wages, making it almost impossible to miss a repayment, keeping your credit score protected and nice and healthy. You can actually set up alerts and reminders to let you know when your repayment is due, to make sure that you don't miss a repayment and keep that credit score nice and strong. And step number 10, monitor your credit report regularly. Now, in the same way it's important to check your credit score to begin with, it's a really good idea to check your credit score regularly over time. You'll be in a much better position to make further improvements if you know where you stand. And checking your credit report will actually highlight any payments you've missed so that you can quickly repay and reduce the impact on your score. Even if your credit score isn't where you want it to be at the moment, you're in a much better position to make changes over time if you know where you stand. So just to recap, our 10 top tips to improve your credit score are checking your credit score to begin with, checking for any errors, proving where you live on the electoral roll, avoid moving home too much if possible, build your credit history over time, keep your old credit accounts open, keep credit utilization low, avoid hard inquiries where possible, pay on time, and monitor your credit report regularly. You should now have plenty of ideas to improve your credit score, and the best place to start is to check your credit score for free using one of the providers we mentioned earlier in the episode. For more information on checking your credit score, check out our useful guide in the description of this episode. I hope you've enjoyed this episode of the Smile and Save podcast, brought to you by Serve and Protect Credit Union. Remember to follow or subscribe to the podcast to never miss an episode and keep up to date when our new episodes come out. We'll see you in the new year for plenty more tips and interviews with people in the know in 2025. See you next time and have a great day.